gentlemen, and welcome to the Undisputed Heavyweight Champion of the World show made for the fans by a fan. I am your host, as always, Richard Tiemann. This is the award-winning Fan Show. I'd like to thank you all for joining me. It was week 5 in the NFL, and what a week it was. And, you know, I like to go into these segments, the headlines specifically, with the expectation that it's like, oh my God, did you see that? And there was a lot of that, but at the same time, like, I was talking about this last night, guest starring on the Social Hour podcast with Dees Casillas, and I said, you know, it's weird. I look at Week 5 in the NFL, which is supposed to be that point of the season where things start to kind of shake out how they're going to, right? Like you've been in the shop for hours and you've been, you know, sanding and grinding and cutting wood and making sure that everything is shaped just right, and you're just about to blow off all the sawdust and see, you know, what you're working with now for the next phase, whether it be the paint or the lacquer or drilling holes for shelves or whatever have you. But it's like you've shaped this thing now, you've gotten a good idea, and you're just about to go and watch all the sawdust come off and be like, oh, okay, not bad. Like, that's the point of the NFL season that we're supposed to be in, and I do not get that feeling right now. I feel like it was the big like, that's what I'm working with. It was crazy, and we'll go over all of it in headlines, but it's like, as I'm doing my rundown and writing out my headlines here, I even had to kind of stop for a second, go, wow, that really happened, and this is really where we're at right now, with just under three quarters of the regular season left. I mean, really, the midway point, we're supposed to know who needs to do what in order to get where they're going, and who's pretty much lost all hope, right? And I think we kind of have a vague idea of that, and we'll even go over the division standings as they are right now. Of course, last night, Monday Night Football, a big one. It was New Orleans Saints hosting the Washington Redskins. Would Drew Brees break the record and become the new all-time leader for passing yards in the NFL? He was about 2 and some change. I think like 241 was the official number that he was short. He was in third going into the game. That's right. It wasn't just like, will he go from second to first? He was third going into that game behind Peyton Manning and Brett Favre. So would he get second? Would he get first? Like, what was going to happen? And you hope for the best in those situations. You don't excuse me, you don't want to see a quarterback get dropped on like the first drive and have to head to the sidelines. So I'm glad that he made it through the whole game, and we will have for your headlines just exactly what happened. Ooh, sorry, it's allergy season. I'm suffering. I really need Claritin. I'm trying to think. And headlines will also have the new BattleBots champion, winner of the Giant Nut for the 2018 season, technically, quote-unquote, Season 3. Now we're on the charge for We Want Season 4. We'll talk about that. We will talk Eastern Washington University football, making his debut on the show. It was a pre-recorded segment, but still a good one. We did it yesterday because that was his availability. So it's still pretty fresh, pretty relevant. I don't believe anything's happened in the news of college football that would change really anything that we were going to discuss. But Coach Cherokee Valeria will join me, and we're going to talk Eastern. I was kind of that guy in the post-game press conference with Coach Best, that guy that I try to never be. But there I was, caught myself. And the irony is that the week before, you know, at that game, in the post-game, I had gotten so upset because I feel like there's this guy in that post-game press conference that hijacks the thing every time, where it's like, not only does he have to ask like 21 questions, but it's that he hasn't fully thought out his questions to ask. So it's like he's constructing the question while he's taking up everybody else's time. So I was upset at that. It's my new media pet peeve. And so I'm just like, okay, like, I try not to ask the dumb questions. And it wasn't a dumb question. It was just phrased not how I wanted it to be. But I think Coach Best answered it with style, with flair. and did it as only Coach Best knew how to do. So we will go ahead and we'll play that clip for you before we get into today's headlines, just because it's something that at this point I have to chuckle about. What it was is that I asked him straight up. I said, at this point in the season, they're 5-1 now. Spoiler alert for headlines, and they've been winning so dominantly. This last game, that's right, Eagles advanced to 5-1 over Southern Utah, 55-17, I believe was the final score. And so I asked, there must not be much left to really nitpick at, because even the mistakes that they're making are being covered up. Like, there was a fumble. I don't believe it was a fumble. I think he was down, but there's no review at that level in college. And then there was 2 long running touchdowns called back for holding, which is going to happen. I mean, you're playing the odds at that point. Anytime there's a long run, chances are there's a hold. So I didn't feel like it was anything to get too worked up over, but of course, Coach Best found out a lot about the man with this question. So my question, I guess, was pretty much, well, not a whole lot left to nitpick at this point in the season, Coach. How do you go forward and address the issues here for your team for the rest of the season with dominant performances like this? And here was Coach Best's response to me in the press conference.
There's a loose ball by Tamarick Pierce that he ended up on. There's enough to be. I mean, the late RPO with Gunnar Talkington down the seam in a situation where we felt like we were trying to take advantage of what they were giving us. Had a tight end wide open up the seam late. There's enough to work on. The thing is, we can't get confused with just because we win doesn't mean there's less to work on. In a weird way, we want to work on more when we win, and not necessarily less when we lose. But everyone already feels bad because of the loss. So we are going to be more nitpicky in wins than we are in losses. We haven't solved football's problems. We still have issues. We still have things to work on. We'll continue to work on those things. But we had two touchdowns called back due to penalties. So that, to me, is an issue, and we'll continue to work on that. By no means is it going to be perfect, but hopefully those holds don't come on 7-point plays.
Yeah. And that was, once again, Coach Best, Aaron Best of the EWU Eagles. Did you watch the game? Yeah, I was that guy. My bad. But I was able to sort of rephrase the question with Coach Valeria, which you will hear coming up here in about the next 10 minutes. And I believe, he understood what I was getting at because we had a chance to talk about it. Obviously, in the press conference room, you're on limited time. You want to try to get your question out as quickly as possible, uninterrupted and not being hijacked from other people. So that was my bad. Typically, I ask pretty damn good questions. This time, though, that one slipped through the old finger. So let's go ahead and let's do this thing. Let's get to our headlines from Week 5 and for the second week of October 2018. And the headlines are, well, we are going to start them with this little ditty right here. That's right. That was Fox NFL on the call. Monday Night Football. Drew Brees breaks the record for all-time yards in a career. And I forget what the total was. I'll get the number for you later, folks. But, man, what a moment. A 63-something yard touchdown. And it was just true Drew Brees fashion. In fact, let's play it one more time for you guys.
Brees open. Wide open, and Smith, what a way to do it!
Yeah, it was incredible. I don't use that word lightly. It really was a special moment. I made sure to tune in to watch because I wanted to see just how he was going to do it, because there's been a few times that things have happened and they weren't really all that ceremonious. I remember when Peyton Manning broke the all-time touchdowns record, that it really wasn't the kind of touchdown that you were expecting to break that record. So Drew Brees, he is your new yardage king. And let me see here if there's how many that is. But God, man, if he's not your GOAT, like, I don't know what you're watching when it comes to football, because the dude is 5'0", right? I think I'm as tall as Drew Brees is. He's had, I don't even know, I couldn't list you the names that I would consider Hall of Fame, first ballot or other, that he's had for receivers. I know that Jimmy Graham obviously was a big go-to guy, but that was strictly in the red zone or for Hail Mary type stuff. Jimmy Graham was a great target for him, but my goodness. I mean, they have, he's thrown to so many guys, and they've been no names. He's got one Super Bowl, but he continues to play at an elite level. He is a first ballot Hall of Famer. He does it when there's guys out there that are your prototypical quarterback that are like 6'3", 200 pounds, whatever. And he's like 5'9" and $180, and he's out there slinging it. It's insane to me. This is why I have a tremendous amount of respect for Russell Wilson, because I believe that he too is elite. And even as a 49ers fan, it's tough for me to admit that, but I can still admit that because I acknowledge and I recognize greatness. And I think Drew Brees, like, he is one of the greats, if not the greatest of all time. When you look back at the quarterback position 10 years from now, you're going to be like, where were you when Brees broke the all-time passing yards record? Because at that point, somebody else will probably be ready to break it. I mean, let's just be real. It is a quarterback's league, and Drew Brees is one of the best quarterbacks out there to do it. So that's how we're going to start off headlines. Drew Brees breaks the all-time record for passing yards in a career, and he is still going. I mean, we're going into week 6, and he's done it. So the record's only going to get harder for the next guy, which good on them, deservedly so. How he continues to defy Father Time, it's amazing. But you have him, Manning, Favre, Young, Montana, and Brady. If those aren't like your top 5 quarterbacks in like the Super Bowl era, we can't have a conversation, because there's no conversation to be had. Drew Brees is just incredible. Don't forget, folks, that the headlines are brought to you by Dynamite Enterprises, because they want to customize your whole world. I'll get it right one time. They want to customize your world. We'll skip whole because you get the point. Dynamite Enterprises, though, is the guys responsible for my t-shirts. Ethan does amazing work, and hats, with t-shirts, hats, polos, hoodies, jackets, trophies even. They've been really flexing their creative muscles with a lot of different stuff that they've done. I know that we're discussing some beer koozies, so that'll be a lot of fun. And then they're also going to be the ones to print, if we get enough demand for them, the special limited edition Fight Against Breast Cancer pink logo tees. And we'll be making a donation of a percentage of the sales to Beyond Pink, a local charity here in Spokane, Washington. So if you are interested in one of those limited edition t-shirts, it's a black shirt, it's a ladies' tee, and it has the logo in all pink. You've seen it if you follow me on social media, Twitter and Facebook. That's what you're looking to get right there, and we're going to donate to a worthy cause. It is October. It is Think Pink Month, and the fight against breast cancer continues. So if you would like to make your own custom apparel, merchandise, if you have a cause that you want to support and maybe raise a little money for, then I suggest you hit up Ethan at Dynamite Enterprises, because Ethan is the man, and if you can dream it, you can do it. Jags, they signed Jamal Charles because they have no more running backs. It's the craziest thing ever. Like I said, week 5 in the NFL really just sort of made you kind of scratch your head and be like, huh? Like, what? Like, we're there at this. I don't even know. I'm still trying to find the right word to fit it, but Let's go ahead and take you down the list of things that happened over the weekend. So KC and LA, they're still undefeated. KC took it to Pittsburgh, and LA took it to Seattle, but in different ways, because when I say that KC took it to Pittsburgh, I mean that game was... KC took it to Jacksonville. Last week they took it to Pittsburgh. This week it was Jacksonville. And running back or not, they were not going to mount a comeback. And that was one of the games that Jose got right that I didn't. Jose 4-1, me 3-2. So I take yet another one in the loss column. I am 1-3 on the season. That one stings. But it's all right. Jose's a good guy, which also, breaking news, you may have seen the press release yesterday, College Gridiron Showcase, which is a little something that Jose put together. It's the first all-star showcase, college-level showcase of the college postseason. Happens January 5th through 9th this year. And the Fan Show is the official media partner of the College Gridiron Showcase. Thank you. It is truly an honor, because this is something that we at the Fan Show have wanted the opportunity to do. You can be a lot of things, and actually Deese, when I was a guest on his podcast last night, he said this to me. He's like, I like you and I respect you because there's a lot of people that come up with ideas, and then that's it. Like, they come up with an idea or something great, and they're just like, you know what? Someone should, or I could totally, or you know what would be great. But then that's where it ends. They don't follow through. They don't do anything. And he says for him to see me on social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, out there actually doing the things that I say, you know what would be cool, or what if someone did this, and then to actually follow through and do it. He's like, it's inspiring. And I never considered myself inspiring, but the idea of the Fan Show has never been to be just a podcast. And I feel like its first year, a lot of people thought it was just a podcast. And it really was. But now we have the opportunity to be more than just a podcast. Every time I cover indoor or arena football, you guys know me if you've ever heard the show before. I'm one of the biggest advocates for the guys at that level, because I know that they are worthy athletes that just deserve that opportunity. Maybe it's that second chance. Maybe it's even a third chance. But these are professional athletes that play at a professional level. And I hate to see them get knocked because they're playing arena ball and playing for scraps. It really sucks. So this may not be helping them, but it is helping overlooked talent, or at least what we believe is talent that's been overlooked, get to that next level. That's what the showcase is for. Matt Breida, who up until 2 weeks ago was leading the league in rushing for the 49ers. That's right, my boys. He was at the College Gridiron Showcase before he went to San Francisco. So there are names that come out of these things. There is a purpose for this, and the Fan Show now gets to be a part of that. So I'm very honored. It's truly a blessing to get to go to Fort Worth, Texas for a week and do interviews with the players, with the coaches, the scouts, everything. Really adds something special to my resume, and also get a chance to interact and pick the brains of the people at that next level. Maybe from this I can help somebody like I couldn't last year. So this is the show at the next level. 2019 we will start a new venture. It'll be an official media partner, something we've never done, but we will provide live podcasts and interviews on location, and we will get video content, highlights, video packages put together for these athletes. Like everything media that we can do, we are doing. And that's a never have I ever for the Fan Show. But we are moving on to the next, onward and upward, with the help of Full Sail and your guys' support. So I'm very thankful for that. The 49ers lost a heartbreaker to Arizona. And by heartbreaker, I mean it was like, who wants to lose this more? There were 5 turnovers for San Francisco at the end of this game. 5 giveaways, right? And somehow Arizona still only ended up winning this game by 10. 5 turnovers, you should win by like five scores, a combination of like 7s and 3s. and they didn't. And so it hurt. It sucked because Beathard had another costly turnover. And this one I do believe was his fault. The one last week wasn't, but I can't keep making excuses for the kid. I like the kid, I really do, but man, that was painful to watch. Cowboys and Garrett. Garrett specifically, one of the most conservative guys since Andy Reid, and that is saying something. He punted on 4th and 1 in overtime, and he has Ezekiel Elliott. Texans would win. Like, how Jason Garrett isn't fired is a mystery. How he hasn't been on the hot seat for the last 2-3 seasons, okay, maybe just 2, but still, how his name doesn't come up as coaches on the hot seat is like one of the greatest mysteries since Stonehenge. Like, I don't understand what the hell's going on in Texas. I really don't. The Bills upset the Titans, and the Panthers, well, they won. And both of these teams, the Bills and Panthers, won with walk-off field goals. Now, the Bills won against the Titans in an upset with a 46-yarder. But the Panthers, oh man, they did it in a bit more dominant fashion over the New York Giants with a 63-yard Graham Gano field goal, and he banked it in, wouldn't you know it. So it's not the record, but it's a yard shy. So props to kickers this week. However, on the flip side, kickers had also a very hard time, just one in particular. Mason Crosby missed 5 field goals. The pack falls to the Lions, and I don't know how much those 5 would have helped or made a difference, but they would have helped. Okay, don't church it up. Those 5 field goals, if you could have them back, you probably would have won the game and then some. So I'm sure it's like a one-off thing for Mason Crosby, but my God, like, it's one thing to miss 1 or 2, maybe 3, but 5 field goals? That's insane. The Bengals control the AFC North, which is surprising considering that they're in the same division as the Ravens and the Steelers, who I think we all thought Ravens, most importantly, the Steelers would be the top of the heap right now. But the Bengals, 4-1, have a stranglehold on that division. And wouldn't you know it, the Browns aren't making it any easier on anybody because they tied the Steelers, and then the Browns won again, second time this season. They've won twice as many games in the last month than they have in the last 3 years, and it was over a divisional opponent in overtime? The Ravens? What? Like, you can't make this stuff up. The Browns win on a field goal in OT over the Ravens, and so they are technically in contention for the division. Like, this is how weird this season has been to start off 5 weeks in. And the Browns are now the only team that have won, lost, and tied in overtime in a single season. It's freaking crazy to me. The Jets routed the Broncos, and the Steelers routed the Falcons, though. So the Steelers did their part. Browns, I guess, helped them out by taking down the Ravens, but as long as the Bengals keep winning, I mean, it's a game of catch-up at this point. And that's the same way that it is in the NFC West with the Rams being undefeated and the AFC West with the Chiefs being undefeated. It's a game of catch-up, you know? You gotta go. Gotta keep winning. You can't hope that other teams lose. So Rams over the Seahawks, there was some controversy there on some of the play calling at the end and time management specifically. Is Pete Carroll on the hot seat? I don't know, but it would not surprise me. If Pete Carroll gets fired before Jason Garrett, there is something wrong in the world of football. I'm telling you right now. I'm not going to say, like, I'd eat my jockstrap or something, but because I think that honestly could happen. I think Pete Carroll could get fired before Jason Garrett, and it would be one of the biggest crimes in all of professional sports. In arena and indoor news, the Bismarck Bucks have officially announced. They announced last week, and I broke the news, I guess. But today, the IFL, the Indoor Football League's official page and social media, announced that the Bismarck Bucks will be joining the league. That makes 9. Will there be a number 10 to round out the league and make it a nice even number? I don't know, but considering that they were at 6 this time last year, yeah, that's progress. IFL All-Star D. Magit from Tri-Cities and Iowa will sign with the Tucson Sugar Skulls, and that was announced yesterday. And then EWU with another big win. They will take on Weber State this weekend, which was one of the only teams in a long time to not only beat Eastern, but do it on the Inferno, on the red turf. And so Coach Valeria and myself, we talk about that in the upcoming interview here in just a moment. And then the new BattleBots champion, the man in the box, the bad man, Paul Ventimiglia and Bite Force. He will be on the show tomorrow night, as well as Greg Munson, co-founder of BattleBots, to sort of put a nice red ribbon and bow on this amazing Season 3. So congratulations to Paul Ventimiglia and Bite Force. That was an incredible finale. You guys and Minotaur definitely was a great championship match. So thank you, BattleBots, for everything this season. Such a bittersweet moment because my content for that is done now, and so I got to move on to the next. What will Wednesdays be like after this one? I don't know, but EWU is 5-1, and when we come back, Coach Valeria, and we are going to talk about the 2018 EWU Eagles. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this. You're listening to The F.A.N Show, your home for all things football and nonsense. My special guest tonight, Farouk. Farouk, welcome.
He's no expert, but here's the thing. Football and nonsense is what he brings. Sports talk with a twist. It's the F.A.N Show.
Do you know him as Kevin from the League? It is none other than very funny Steve Ranazisi.
99% of the population doesn't know who I am, but the 1% do. They yell and scream inappropriate things at me in public.
Kyle Ray. Kyle, welcome.
And I was like, wow, I think we just saw the whole Super Bowl, Phyllis. It's like that scene in The Simpsons, like, why rent the movie? I just saw the best part.
Funny man Brad Williams.
Yeah, I'm here. No, I flew in just for your podcast. I've heard about this podcast. I've heard it's fantastic.
It's Mac and Farva, but they are my special guests tonight. Steve Lemmy, Kevin Heffernan.
I was in Mexico for 10 weeks in a Speedo. Like, that was me going to work. I was putting on a Speedo. Farva is the most fun to play, and it was a blast to do that again, to do Farva again. So then the makeup artist had to put Vaseline on your body, right? Yeah. And then put the powdered sugar on top of that. Is your name really Richard Siemens?
Listen live every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday night on Spreaker.com, or subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and SoundCloud. All right, ladies and gentlemen, joining me now from EWU, Eastern Washington University, the Eagles. It is the recruiting coordinator and cornerbacks coach, Cherokee Valeria. How you doing, Coach?
I'm doing great. Doing real good.
Excellent. Well, I got to say, fantastic performance this last week. It's always fun to be there when it seems like things are firing on all cylinders, all three phases of the game: offense, defense, special teams, and especially to do that at home. You guys are at a point now in the season. You're 5-1. Rankings just came out. You're number 3 in the power, number 4 overall. Like, what's your takeaway so far? Like, how do you feel? You know, what's some emotion that you've got, and what's it look like down the road for you?
Well, obviously, it's an awesome season going so far. Honestly, as a coach, we always go game by game. You know, it's the next game is the most important game, so we don't get that too far into hype. You know, with where we're at, if we're 5th 2 weeks ago, 4th last week, 3rd this week. I mean, we could lose a game here or there and drop down all the way up to 20th. So it really doesn't matter. Your next game is the most important game. But that atmosphere, you're right. This last weekend, that atmosphere on that red was something special. I mean, it's always special at the Inferno, but it was something truly special this last weekend.
Yeah, I will agree with that. The intensity of the crowd, they're always in it, start to finish, and that's an important thing, an important element to have at a home game, especially in a season where I don't necessarily think that the term righting the wrongs is correct, but obviously the motto has been leave no doubt because of you guys being denied the postseason last year. Here you are, 5-1, the one loss to WSU, and that's nothing to hang your head about. It's been a good rivalry, and then you had a close one with Arizona. That was a road game, but all the rest, man, it's like all gas, no brake. Do you feel like you guys are leaving no doubt this season?
I think our guys are playing with no doubt. I think they're continuing that chip on their shoulder from last year and having it there for a reason and using it to motivate them, you know, through practices, through meetings, through the details, the grind, as you could say, as most players nowadays will talk about, and that just constant mind frame that we got to continue to get better, no matter if we're 5-1 or 1-5, and utilizing what happened last year as just another motivational tool to have our focus in effect for this next opponent.
Now, this last game, post-game press conference, I happened to end up being that guy in the post-game with Coach Best. I love him to death. I think he's a phenomenal coach, and his response does merit that of him being a great mind. But the way that I phrased it was, hey, at this point, with all these win margins and the points that you're scoring and everything, it doesn't seem like there's a lot that you can really nitpick on because, yeah, you guys had the fumble. Personally, I thought he was down by contact, and then there was the 2 touchdowns called back for holding. But there's mistakes, but they're mistakes that it's like you don't even really remember them because of how well you're able to basically cover them up and proceed with the rest of the game, whether it be 3 quarters, 2 quarters, or that last one. And, he kind of chuckled, and he's like, we coughed up the ball. We had the two touchdowns called back. So what I meant to say is that, you guys are putting up an average of 17 points on defense, which is phenomenal. Your offense, regardless of who's at quarterback, apparently, is able to turn possessions into points. So
yes.
Do you feel as a coach like you are being truly tested and that your true potential as a team in 2018 is out there game in, game out, quarter to quarter?
I think with our eyes, coach's eyes, when we go back into it, because it's kind of funny that you say that, because I looked at this last game and I saw several things that we could definitely improve on. There's several mishaps here and there of details behind our game plan that we put into play, that we didn't execute to the 100 percentile that we should have executed. And our guys, after breaking down the game and giving them their grades and looking at it in a fine-tooth comb, our guys see those details as well, and they're striving to become better. So even though you say, the point differentiation of 17 points a game, or offense, on all cylinders, or just moving the ball, no matter who it is, if it's EB, if it's, whatever wide receivers out there or running back car, it doesn't matter. We seem to put up the numbers and our defense is doing great. We still see those little details to make us better. And I think that's what makes us special is our guys are not putting their bank into the fact that, oh yeah, we're 5-1. Oh yeah, we're running through teams here and there. They're seeing the details of what we're still missing and looking at, wow, what if we could change this thing, or what if we could fix that? We could be that much more. We could have a shutout. We could, put a team truly down in the dumps and take another on the offensive side, score even more points than we're scoring right now.
Yeah, obviously, always room for improvement. Like Coach Best said, no one has really figured out the game of football. I mean, obviously in baseball, there's a version of what is considered a perfect game, but I don't know if in football is that you're holding their offense to 3 and outs each time and you're putting points on the board with each possession and no turnover. Like, I just don't know what perfect could be construed as. So for Coach Best to say, we learn more from the wins because of what we can do to improve than we would have lost, which honestly blew me away. That's the first time I've heard that. Do you share that mentality with Coach Best?
Totally. I mean, totally. I think if you learn just as much or more in a win than a loss, and you take it the same way with a win and a loss, that's what helps you improve and continuously improve day in and day out. It's easy to look at the negative things in a loss and say, okay, we should have, not turn the ball over, or we should have got more turnovers, or we should have won on third downs, or we need to win in the red zone, or all those. That's easy to say, but when you're winning and you're still looking at those details and finding ways to improve on those details, I think that's what pushes a team into that championship level.
Yeah, and I definitely think that you guys are playing at a championship level, even if, it may not appear with the eye test that you guys are being truly tested. At least, the 3 phases of the game are being out there on display and working well for the most part, mining a few things here and there that you guys obviously are working to improve on. Now, you guys will go on the road this week to Weber State, and then you're back home against Idaho. 2 tougher opponents than what you guys have seen since, I'd probably say, WSU, and Weber obviously going to be that opponent that can really, I don't know if it's bad blood, if it's just rivalry or what, but they can spoil a few things. What's the mentality going into a road game like this at this point in the season?
I think it's once again that leave no doubt, mentality. That you got to understand. This is another team that last year got a chance to beat us, and they did a great job in their game plan. They executed on our turf, which is very hard to do. If you do your research, you understand the record that we have at home, and they did it. They came into our house and beat us at our game, and them and Southern Utah were the two teams that got it on us. So this is another weekend for us, mentality-wise, that this is a leave no doubt atmosphere where we need to put everything we have and kind of go into it with all we got. And they're a very, very tough organization. They run the ball really well. Their wide receivers are scrappy, and for what coach says on the offensive side of the ball, they're going to be very disciplined on D. So we got to do everything right to win this game.
Now, clearly, as a cornerbacks coach, you see a lot of things from the defensive side, specifically the secondary, where games can be won and lost in that phase. But for you guys to put up 55 points on offense, granted 17 of that on average is from you guys on defense, but you also have held the opponent to such a low score. I mean, I think only WSU and Arizona scored more than, I think, 20 on you guys. And for you, as a guy with a defensive mind, is it seizing the opportunities given to you, or are your guys honestly creating opportunities to be had in these games? And if so, how do you coach that?
I think it's a mixture of both of that. I think the game plan going into a game and identifying what an opponent is trying to do in particular situations, coming out, red zone, third downs, first downs, and maximizing our play call, which Coach Schmez does an amazing job doing. We sit, in meetings throughout, Sunday and Monday, game planning and putting the bulk of our game plan together for a future opponent, and to see those details come about and to teach the details to our players. And then having them play as fast as they can. I think we have a senior group heavy this year with multiple seniors coming back and multiple guys that have playing experience. And for them to go through that preparation throughout the week and the game plan being put in by Coach Smeds and all the assistant coaches, and them to see it and be able to play fastly, that's what allows us to make the plays that we're making on Saturdays. So I really do think it's a combination of both things.
Now, Coach Best, the impression that I've got from him is that he's very much a player's coach, down-to-earth guy, but he gets fired up out there. And here you have, defend the red and leave no doubt, things like that because of how things ended last season. Is he someone that buys into the hype of his own team, or is he pretty much, he sticks to the fundamentals of the game and he just wants to make sure that everyone's doing their part to grind it out week in and week out?
The biggest thing with Coach Best is he's a competitor. I don't care if it's racquetball, underwater basketball, coaching on Saturday, to playing checkers with his son, Tank. I mean, he is a competitor. So what you see out there is what you're going to get, no matter if we're playing football or playing a board game. But he does. He keeps us. I wouldn't say he builds into the hype. He actually keeps us level-headed. His mantra this week is going to be squeeze the orange. As much as you could get out of that orange, squeeze it till you could get even more out of it. And he wants us to continue to work and continue to develop and continue to push our envelopes to maximize what we could get out of every player, what every player could get out of every situation or any chance they get on the field. So I think he is a competitor, but on the same time, he tries to balance out all the hype that is out there, where everything is in, and keep us grounded and focused on what we need to do on a week-to-week basis.
Excellent, and I really do love and appreciate and respect Coach Best. I think he's always got the right answer, and it's not an automated response like some coaches. I think what he says he believes is genuine, and that's how he's feeling at that time. So it's always good to get his reactions there, and good talking with you also. Now, for you, I wanted to bring up, Sunday, you sit down, turn on the TV, there's guys that are scoring touchdowns in their home state for the first time, like Cooper Kupp, one of EWU zone. Kendrick Bourne down in San Francisco for the 49ers. Obviously, you guys doing your part to help a great franchise now, a program. There we go. That's the right word for college level. Doing your part for a great program in Eastern, but also your part to elevate these guys and seek their true potential. And we're seeing that now. What does it feel like for you to watch guys that, you know, are from that program, maybe you coached with, maybe you saw on the field and had a hand in their development, out there on the highest level performing to the degree that they are?
It truly is something special. And I mean, because you see the product that they're putting on the field, but to know these guys and their life story behind it, where Cooper Kupp came out of our backyard, you know, down in Yakima, where not a lot of a true, you know, high caliber athletes come out of, you know, it's kind of one goes to Seattle or some people will come to Spokane, the other side of the mountains to grab athletes, and, you know, Samson, you know, and even KB down in San Francisco. KB's an amazing person, and to know his background and his family life, and having all those ties and know the personality and how the work that they had to go through and the dedication they've put into the program when they were here, you know, and the hoops and jumps that they had to go through athletically as well as academically, as well as becoming a young man, you know, and to see all that come to life and to be on the main stage now, it's truly something special. I love Sundays and being able to go through and break down an opponent, but also in the background I'll have Cooper Kupp on, I'll have KB on, I'll have, you know, other players that are playing in the NFL on TV, just to see them and watch them continue to develop and shine at that main level.
And the last question for you then on that same note is, do you believe as a coach at this level, the college level, that this could be just the beginning for that statement of, you know, hey, you don't have to go to a Miami or an LSU or an Ohio or a Michigan. You can be from right here in a program like this and still go out there, get your shot and take it and do really well?
I do. I think year in and year out, we're proving that over and over and again. And every draft that comes up, there's more and more Division II, you know, FCS players, lower level FBS players that are getting drafted and getting put out into that main stage. So kids in the high school level are understanding the fact that they don't have to go to, you know, the Pac-12s. They don't have to go to the Big 10s or Big 12s. You know, out there they could really come and go to their backyard at a high caliber FCS program like ourselves and be successful and make it to the NFL and have a bunch of rings on their finger. I mean, that's the biggest thing I talk to recruits about is, you know, you could go FBS and go 1-10 at a great FBS program, or you could come FCS and have 5 rings by the time you're done and get into the NFL. Which one do you want to go to?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And, you know, it's been great to see those guys on that main stage, knowing that they came from right here in our backyard. But, Coach, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show. You're the first Eastern coach that we've had here, not in a post-game press conference type setting. But good luck against Weber this weekend. I know it's going to be a tough one. I'll be watching, listening from home, and then ready to welcome you guys back to take on Idaho. So safe travels, best of luck, and, you know, go get them.
Thank you. Go Eagles.
All right, take care. And once again, that was Coach Cherokee Valeria of the EWU Eagles. Eastern Eagles, go fight, win, and they have been winning and winning a lot. 5-1, only loss was to WSU, and considering that this was a program that took that team on at its best in Pullman and beat them, and then to have them go and, you know, it wasn't like the closest of wins. It wasn't even, well, it wasn't a win for Eastern, but just to have them go into Pullman and play and stick with it and not give up, I think speaks volumes for this team. You know, you really get a sort of view of character in a loss like that. And then for Arizona to be the only other team that's really come close to to taking them at their best on the road or at home, and they have been very dominant at home. They do have a test on the road, though, this weekend, as they will take on Weber, and that is a rivalry matchup, one that you will not want to miss. So check your local listings. Make sure that you are all set up to enjoy some Eastern Eagle football. And let's see, what time is that at? Weber State, Saturday at 3 o'clock local time. And that one will be showed on ELEV. I'm not sure what that means, but yeah, Weber was the one team that was a thorn in their side last year. I don't think 2 losses would be enough to really say that they don't deserve postseason. There's still plenty of season left, though. I will say that much. If you look at their schedule, so they have Weber, they have the Idaho Vandals, and that's at home. That'll be a great game. Then they are on the road against Northern Colorado, at home against UC Davis, and then they finish out the regular season on the road against Portland State. So they have 5 games left on their schedule, which is crazy because they're 5-1, so they are over the midway hump of this season. Hopefully this is not the midway hump of their entire season. We would like to see postseason berth. Let's go. Go Eags. Leave no doubt, and they have certainly been doing that. So that is going to do it for our Tuesday edition of The Fan Show. Don't forget that if you missed any of tonight's episode, if you missed any episodes, you want to get caught up on the latest in football and nonsense and much, much more, the ever-growing, always expanding Fan Show, you can find it for your listening pleasure at your convenience. iTunes, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. Of course, we broadcast live from Spreaker.com, which also has an on-demand function as well. If you ever have the availability to listen live, if you listen through Spreaker.com, there is a chat option. You can jump in, join the conversation, but of course, if you can't do it through Spreaker, then join the conversation, even if it's after the show is aired, even if it's a show from like a week ago. Just, quote that link and be like, what are you talking about with this nonsense? Blah, 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 and we can have a conversation. So tweet me at FanShowOfficial. Give us a like on Facebook, facebook.com/FanShowOfficial. Follow along, Snapchat and Instagram. I will tell you that Snapchat's not all that active because I don't know what its purpose is, really, except for to tell my life story through 30-second clips, which I don't see the point. So I'll stick to Instagram. I do some Snapchatting, but both Instagram and Snapchat are simply The Fan Show. There is no official or at or anything. And then, of course, your home base for all things football and nonsense, getting a few new looks. It is thefanshow.com. And we do have some content, fantasy advice from Brandon, our fantasy guru, and then a weekly recap from Mr. Richard Bauer. Those are Team Fan Show guys. They do good work. And then every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, live on Spreaker.com or the live tab on thefanshow.com is your all-new episodes of The Fan Show, 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific. Tomorrow night, it is our last BattleBot special. I know. Tears are rolling down my cheeks right now. So don't forget to tune in for that. You won't want to miss it. Paul Ventimiglia of Byte Force, your new BattleBots world champion, and then creator Greg Munson will join me. And Thursday we'll have a new round of Fan versus Fan Show Pick'em. Congrats again to Jose, and don't forget to check out that press release if you haven't already, so that you can be in the news or in the know for all the latest news on everything happening with the Fan Show and the College Gridiron Showcase. Check out cgsallstar.com for more information if you're a college senior or an NFL or pro free agent that would like to participate in this event. I believe there is still some availability left. So that'll do it for this Tuesday edition. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, best of luck to you and yours. Go Niners, and remember, of course, it's all fun and games until you buff them. Good night, folks.
Do you remember the time that Mark Sanchez ran into his own player's blood? That was funny sports.
Thank you for having me on the show, man. I love the Fan Show.